Haribol! Welcome to the Bhakti Zone podcast, the place where we discuss all topics of this world, of that world, of the supernatural, of the world within, through a lens of bhakti or devotion. We are your hosts, Vishwambar and Dayal. We're super excited to discuss new topics each time we get together. And we would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your ideas on these. If you have specific topics that you would like us to discuss, that you would like us to explore, we'd be open to it, right?
Well, yeah, the more it is interesting for you to hear, we will be definitely very inspired to do. I mean, we can talk about anything. We're very inspired, and I think every time it's like exploration, because we talk a little bit about what we are going to talk about, but when we really put the camera on and start talking about it, it's a revelation for us also.
It starts to flow.
It's very yeah, how say catharsis.
Cathartic.
Yeah, I never get this word.
We're doing kata, which means talking.
Yeah,
kata,
exactly.
and it's cathartic. Things come out.
So I hope today also some things will be coming out. And we've been requested by a few our friends who watch our podcast to talk about karma. And, this thing when people, I mean, there's even famous book, Why Bad Things Happening to Good People. Then taking ownership of what is happening to us, learning to accept it, and learning to properly react to it, because while we in real time cannot control what is happening to us, we can in real time learn to control how we act upon certain things happening to us. And then also in the same vein, we speak about blaming others and how it is harmful for one's own development and makes one miserable, and actually because we never learn, we never get out of this vicious cycles. Basically, when you fail in school, every time you don't go to the next grade. So blaming others, not taking ownership to what is happening to us, and basically we're failing our exit exam from a certain grade, and we just remain the grade, same things happening, and until we break out of this vicious cycle, until we learn this lesson, hopefully within the lifetime which we have. Because people say we live one life. Of course, that's a nice notion, and it comes when person don't have the knowledge about the journey of the soul, which is very, very explicitly described in the Vedic scriptures. And this is, I think, where this knowledge made so much sense to me, for example, where it's clear that what I'm having right now is a result of what I was doing before, and what I'm doing right now will determine what will happen to me in the future. And still, even with this kind of knowledge, I'm still surprised how short-sighted I am very often.
Mm-hmm.
Even having this knowledge, then you need to remind and bang your head over the wall, against the wall, and then kind of wake up to the reality and think, okay, my goal is too narrow, my goal is too it's too minuscule comparing to where I need to be aiming, and
Too
it's
short-sighted.
And you need to kind of always, I think, through the right associations, through surrounding oneself with people who have similar understanding, or even higher understanding than oneself, and helping to elevate one's vision, helping to elevate one's aspirations, to kind of also set the proper goals and then see that the steps which I'm making in life should never compromise the main goal, which is again in bhakti, it's pure love of God, which is beyond life and death. And majority of our goals is very limited within life and death. And there's a lot of stories about it, like the story about this king who was dying, and anyway, I don't even remember the story, but the point was that he could not even take a needle with him to the next. Do you remember the story? Kind of what to say about.
He's so attached to everything. He wants to take it all with him, but
it was some point that don't worry, you rip your clothes, so you just take a needle and you can sew it in the afterlife. Said, I cannot take anything. So why you attached to your kingdom? Why you attached to your riches? So we cannot take anything in the afterlife. So not to say that it is not important to live comfortably in this world and have wealth, health, proper relations, all important, but we always need to ask ourselves at what cost. Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita that infamy is worse than death. And we know actually a lot of people commit suicide in this world exactly for this reason, that the pain which they very often the moral pain, or like psychological pain, is so bad, maybe shame, maybe feeling of guilt, maybe feeling of unworthiness, is so high that they're ready to end their life other than to tolerate this pain. And very often it's really not a physical pain, it's kind of depression. So mental health is very important. And so this kind of topics is something which bhakti is very much equipped to deal with. I think we could explore. I put a lot.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I would like to catch on is, okay, so we can't carry anything with us, right? We don't take anything with us. From my last life, I've not brought anything with me. Whoever I was, whatever I was in a previous, here we're talking about reincarnation, the transmigration of the soul from one body to another, the spirit continuing being eternal, the body being temporary. So, but why is it then that I am born in a specific family in this life, in a specific nation, whether it be a, first world nation or a third world nation, or or children are born with defects, children are born in families where they're abused, and some families are just have everything they could ever want, and the kids are completely spoiled, So why is that? Because it seems like then something's carrying over.
Right. So we cannot carry anything gross material, but subtle material things, not only we can carry, it's the only thing which carries us. Our mentality. So subtle body, Bhagavad Gita explains, Krishna explains Bhagavad Gita as a gross body, 8 elements, 5 elements, right? Earth, water, fire, ether, and air, right? So we have 5 gross elements. Everything material which you can not, even subtle material like air you cannot touch, ether you cannot touch, you cannot see, you cannot smell. So characteristic of ether is sound. The only thing is sound. Characteristic of air, sound, and touch. Actually, I think it's touch, right? Characteristic of then fire is sight, right? So it's sound, touch, and sight. Characteristic of water plus all of this, it's taste. And characteristic of earth, it's smell. So if water smells, means it's not pure water. There's an element of earth there. But there's another 3 elements which are subtle. It's mind, intelligence, and false ego. Well, we have real ego, which is soul, which is who we really are. A lot of people say, I want to be who I am. Don't try to change me. And this is exactly it's called false ego. People, whatever we got, now we get more designation. That's not only man and woman or black and white, now some third gender, fourth, fifth, tenth. So people layer off whimsical identifications on themselves, and it's becoming even more complicated than before. But it's all false identification. Actually, the idea is to unlayer this and say, okay, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm not black, I'm not Indian, I'm not white, I'm soul, which has the body, a certain body. So if I have this t-shirt, whatever it is, I don't say I am this t-shirt, right? Just my clothes. So then you unlayer this. So this is real self. But
the song comes to mind. I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my... But the soul is beyond all that.
Yeah,
right?
the soul is beyond all that. So then these three elements, basically the mind, intelligence, and false ego, it carried from one body to another. So whatever we form, whatever mentality of our subtle body is,
so we leave our gross body behind. We
Right.
leave the gross body behind, the body of the five elements. But this subtle body, this mind, this intelligence, and this false ego, it carries over.
Right, and it gets the body which is the most suitable for this, and also something which we deserve. I mean, it's not only like it's suitable for a certain body. Very often, let's say trees are standing naked, right? So somebody who, nudist want to be naked all the time. It's not as it's becoming more and more acceptable in human society. But according to the Vedas, somebody who always wants to be naked, he just born as a tree, because tree is standing naked all the time, right? This is a suitable form of body. Somebody who wants to have unrestricted sex, then they are born like pigs or pigeons who can have much more sex than human beings, and they indiscriminately, they have sex with their daughters, sons, mothers, fathers, like no restriction, like unrestricted sexual. And somebody wants to eat unrestrictedly also. Pig is a good body, even enjoys, stool, and excrement. They really, they can basically poo and then eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no shortage of food there,
Yeah.
Or somebody who is very carnivorous, likes to eat blood, and then the body of tiger or lion. And some people say, I want to be like that. So that it's especially if you want to be like that, and if karma allows, then one will be. Well, of course, intricacies of karma are very, very, it's impossible to really calculate.
Right.
But what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that whatever you think at the end of your life, that you become, basically. This is, and then he says, furthermore, but if you think of me at the end of your life, you go to my abode.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Karma, Krishna himself says that the intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. And at the same time, I think that this question of why does bad things happen to good people, or why are innocent children born with defects and abuse and in a horrible, you come to India in the slums and you'll see, children that will never have any chance in their life. And you look at that and it's very easy to think God is very evil. God is unkind. This universe is completely unbalanced. What is the crazy randomness of this all? That someone is born as a Trump and someone is born as a children
as if Trump is a blessing.
Then there's that whole side, where, you may have everything, but you're going to suffer in so many other ways. You're going to suffer emotionally damaged and mental damage. And meanwhile, there can be a child who's born in the sewers, but is very happy internally and peaceful, right? So even all these things, they're tied into our karmas, right? It's not just the body that we're born in, but it's also the psychology that we carry, the emotional reactions to things, to the world, the world that we create around us through our being. These things are all tied in with karma. And I think that it's very difficult to try to answer these questions if your philosophical kind of framework doesn't include karma in it,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
Because it's like, then God must be, he must be screwing with us, like, why is it like this? If you say God is all good, then why is an innocent child born in Syria in an encampment, So the laws of karma are very, very intricate. They're very, very subtle and nuanced. And according to the Bhakti traditions, we've also been traveling through so many lifetimes, kind of since time immemorial, as they say, or since, we don't know how many lifetimes we've been through. It's just been millions and billions and trillions. We've just been traveling in these cycles over and over and over again. So how much have we accumulated? It's very impossible to say, because of this exact thing that happened in this life, it can be done, and some astrology is there, and sometimes astrologers will give some insight into, like, okay, because in some previous life you offended such and such person, therefore in this life you've been born with this kind of emotional baggage that you hold. But basically we carry karmic baggage, right? From one lifetime to another lifetime, we carry karmic baggage, and that karmic baggage accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. And we're just carrying so much of it that in this lifetime, we're born in whatever family, in whatever country, in whatever, family and a situation, whatever type of body, with whatever emotional way of thinking, psychology, and all these things, and a proclivity to being a certain way, acting a certain way, whether, according to what you would call a dharma or a type of way of being in the world. So it feels like a lot. It feels like it can be very confusing, I think, the concept. And at the same time, I think without this concept, it's even more confusing.
Well, yeah.
Right? Because without the concept of karma, then why am I in this?
Yeah. And I think concept of karma is very relatable. So every action has a reaction. So whatever you sow, that you reap, right? So if you put bad seeds in the ground, if you put poisonous seed in the ground, you got a poisonous plant. If you put something healthy and nutritious, then you harvest something good. So it's very relatable concept, and of course, accumulation of karma is one thing, but we kind of accumulate, and then we only in human body we accumulate karma, and then immediately after that we already paying for that, and then we kind of come to a certain almost blank slate, and then again not completely blank slate, but then we again coming into human body and with certain residuals of karma, and then within the human body again we able, and then what's interesting in Vedas, it's not only hell, it's not only heaven, then you have the earth, so you can be born again on the earth, or you can go to hell, or you can be born as an animal and then go through. Animals, they don't get karma. Animals, they don't have developed consciousness, so they don't have any reaction. They just basically burn whatever reactions, enjoyment and suffering, whatever is destined to them by karma, from one animal body to another animal body to another animal body. And then once they come to human body again, human body on the earthly plane is the only place where you get karma. In hell, you don't get karma. In heavens,
So
you
as
don't
an
get
animal,
karma.
as an animal, you may be suffering the results of previous karmas,
But you don't accumulate.
but you're not making more karmas.
No,
Mhm.
you don't make any more karmas. And then even within that,
Different levels of
yeah. So I mean, this is complicated. But the good news is that when you come to level of bhakti, devotion, and again, I'm pretty sure it's in any tradition, but in what is known in our tradition in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, other holy scriptures, even one holy name of God, if you chant, let's say Krishna, you say Krishna, or you say Hari one time,
Hari.
guys, you can tell it. Yeah? So, but the result of it is that you can destroy more karmic reaction than it is possible to accumulate within millions and millions and millions of lifetime. Basically, there's nothing which cannot be destroyed by one holy name. That's why holy name of God is so powerful. Now again, we chant the holy names of God as it is given in our tradition, but if you chant Allah, it's also holy name of God, and God understands when you call Him, or if you chant Jesus. This is all names of God, or
Jah.
yeah, Jah. Yeah, right. So that's how it is powerful. But at the same time, because it is so powerful, you should never chant. Even Christians, they don't take
the name of the Lord in
name
vain.
of God in vain. So we should never try to chant the name to counteract our sins, especially trying to commit more sins and then counteract it. It actually amplifies our reactions. This is very interesting.
When you say sins, do you mean karma? Is it interchangeable?
Sins and bad karma, I guess, interchangeable. And the pious activities, we would say it would be good karma. But transcendental activity, so yeah, what I was going to say, that then there's another plane between heaven, hell, and earth and earthly planets. It's transcendental plane where there's no time. We eternally belong there, and we're going really out of it, because even from heaven one goes back. And it's interesting how it is described. It is described that when our time on the of enjoyment in heaven is kind of expired, right, runs out, then one falls down with the rain, and falls down with the rain, and the soul, and it goes into the grain, different kind of grain. And when man eats this grain, then through semen, the soul goes into womb of a mother. So this is people who come in from heaven, or we call them demigods, those
heavenly planets.
Yeah, from heavenly planets where they enjoy immensely. But when the time runs out, and time runs out, it could be millions upon millions of years, but time runs out, and you come back again. And again, you might go up, so it's like, but when you go back to transcendental plane, it's done. And it's where we really belong. It's real identity of our soul. And it's not impersonal. It's also very, very personal. We have transcendental bodies, not out of pure spirit. Yeah, it might look like our bodies, but it's infinitely beautiful, and it's totally devoid of any matter. It's purely spiritual, and it's eternal, and we can live eternally with God in His kingdom. And there's also different levels of kingdom of God. So yeah, that's what fascinated me in the Vedas, is all these things are so deeply described in the Vedic scriptures, which you never get in any other scriptures, right? And so then that is when we create this activity, when we live and we choose to do more activities in this body, which is transcendental. it allows us to, achieve the final goal. But if we get good karma or bad karma, ultimately it's all bad.
So, as Newton says, that every action has an opposite reaction, opposite and equal reaction, right? That's the law of physics, and that's on the material platform. So there's a very similar concept that karma brings, but on a more subtle level, where every action has an opposite and equal reaction. We're gonna experience whatever, I punch you in the face, and it may not happen right away in this lifetime, but at some point I'm going to have to experience that. I kill some insect, I kill some animal, that animal is going to kill me. Actually, this is a different topic, which we are going to discuss one day, but the Sanskrit mamsa, the word for meat, is whatever I'm doing to you, you're going to do to me at some point. Right. It's very clear. Like even the word itself is like, I'm doing this to you, but you're going to do this to me. So there's different types of activities, right? Now, according to those activities, we either I guess you could say, elevate our consciousness to a better position, a more peaceful, a more sattvic, mode of goodness position, or we degrade our consciousness through bad karmas to a lower, hellish, suffering, ignorant, passionate type of condition, right? So there's this like, but what is good? Who says what is good? Who says what is bad? Who says what makes us elevate? How do we know what makes us to elevate to a better, higher consciousness, a higher, kind of peaceful goodness, as we call sattva? I'm using the word as the mode. There's different modes of a guna is what we call. So there's a guna of goodness, and there's the gunas, or the modes of passion and ignorance and of hellishness and of depression. So what kind of decides this?
Well, yeah, that's interesting that if you don't go to any scripture and you just speculate, what is good, but what is bad, based on, again, we talked about it, on our imperfect senses, that it would be, we understand killing is bad, robbing is bad, stealing is bad, but then somebody
like basic
else,
morality.
Right, basic morality, but then somebody else said why? Because laws are like this, but who create law? People create law. Very, very good way to kind of go on kind of estimate things which are good or bad is that you don't want to do something to others that you don't want done to yourself.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
That's a good moral compass, and then you want to do something to others that you want done to yourself. But some people are very perverted mind.
And I would add to that do unto others as they would like done to them. Because I don't always know what you would like done to you, but just behave with others as they would like to be behaved with. That's another way to look at it,
Yeah.
Is allow people to, be who they want to be, who they need to be.
Yeah. And that's what's happening right now, right? So that also can be taken to extreme. I don't want you to call me he, I want you to call me she. I want to call you they.
Well, I was going to ask about that. It's like, because I think people are very upset about who determines what is sin, right? Because of many concepts from other philosophies, other religions, that there is this concept of this person is sinful, this person is sinning, you are a sinner. There's a lot of judgment that happens there. So people say, well, then screw the religion thing, screw the scripture thing. I'm tired of people telling me what is sinful or what is it. This makes me feel happy. This feels good for me. That's why I was asking about, like, who determines this, like, good karma or bad karma type thing.
Yes. So I just went immediately to controversial.
Yeah, good.
They both are controversial.
Good.
But so coming back to, if I want you to, for example, treat me as I want to be treated. For example, I want you to worship me all the time and, wash my, feet and serve me all the time. So that's where slavery came from, people want to be treated as the others has to be. So there's a limit to it. Like, I want you to call me she. I want you to call me they. I want to see whatever it is.
I'm cool with it. I'll
So
call you.
You don't mind to call. Okay, you're very open minded. Then I tell you, why don't you call me? I'm black actually. So I want. I was discriminated, so I'm black now. So that's already a little bit, like
How far does it go?
real African American will like, come on, dude, brother, you are black. So, but yeah, I feel myself black. Some people, cut their hands and they identify with a disabled person. I just recently heard somewhere that the guy, he didn't actually harm himself. He just took the how to say the
Like a wheelchair?
Exactly, yeah, wheelchair. And he said,
He
I
feels he's
identify myself as paralyzed from waist down. That's it. I identify myself like this, and you have to treat myself like this. Or I say, you have to call me Your Highness. I'm a king, so you have to. So there's no limit. So once you go into this rabbit hole, that's why coming back, who weighs the truth? So I prefer to refer to the scriptures, which at least have a notion being given by God. Okay, I say, well, maybe it's not given by God. Listen, we have only few books which are even said to be given by God. We know all other books are man written, so we don't need to worry about that. Then study those few books, whatever speaks to you more. I mean, maybe you're born in a certain tradition. So if you're born in a, let's say, Muslim tradition, then maybe you will be more gravitating to Quran, right? And then you find your solace and you believe in Allah and you believe in all the postulates there, and it's fine, and it's great. And you're a religious person, and as long, again, we will speak, as long as you're not fanatics, same Christianity. But you could also do cross-religious study if you are not exactly satisfied. If you are fully satisfied with what you found somewhere, why not? But whenever you find something which makes sense to you and you can put your faith into it. And another reason why is that you see people who practice this, you like their character, you like what they become, you like their example, people who are considered to be saints in a certain tradition, people who passed, who considered to be saints, and you read the stories, and people who live, who are very saintly. And I'm pretty sure you can find these people in all traditions. Then you see, okay, this is example. You always need to have a role model. That's why it is important, at least in the Vedic tradition, that you have a living guru, somebody who exemplifies the knowledge and can actually correct you and give you this knowledge. So first of all, you accept this person as a representative of God. You make a conscious choice by studying this person as long as you need to. And I know you took very long time, for example, to study and to be with your guru. I was much quicker because I just, you was born in tradition. I came and I was already like, I cannot practice. For me, it was like this. I cannot practice spiritual life until I get a guru. I got this notion. So I was getting guru as soon as possible. But if you are sincere, then Krishna sends you the right person. And as time goes, I understand this is exactly the person who I want to be my guru. I want it all the time. So this is important. And again, in all other traditions, this is, I'm pretty sure, also there. And even in material life, right? It's important. So yeah, there's knowledge which is kind of has to be at least theoretically godly knowledge. And from this, you learn what is good and what is bad according to Creator who left us a manual. And then you find somebody who is good at it and you become apprentice, right? You become apprentice in order to. So that's the only way how I see to absolutely define good and bad. Otherwise, it's, your truth is your truth, my truth and my truth, and we will never find a common ground.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a theme for our talks has been we're uncovering layers to find what is that absolute, right? What is that absolute truth? And what is that basis upon which we can then base everything else on? There's this beautiful also kind of visual of the boat. This body is likened to the boat. And the ocean of material existence, which wants to try and sink us, is very, very deep, very, very difficult to cross over. And we have this, specifically this human body, according to all of you who are listening right now, we all have the karma of receiving this human body, right? And this human body is an opportunity to ask the right questions. This human body gives us the opportunity to whether to continue in this cycle of karma, which is the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease through different bodies over and over and over again, or this human body allows us to be the boat which begins to cross over this material existence. And the rest of the kind of visual is that it says that the scriptures are the favorable winds that blow us in the right direction. And the guru is the captain of the ship. So the guru is steering. We're following the instructions of the guru, and meanwhile, who we are really, we're the passengers on that journey. So we do have this moral compass, right? We're very fortunate that we have this moral compass. And I think continuously as humans, as human beings in this lifetime, we have the responsibility to continue to ask the right questions so that our moral compass becomes more and more pointed in the right direction. What is the direction that we want this boat to cross over this material existence and go to, right? Eventually we're going to leave the boat behind, right? Eventually the boat's going to get left behind. The body's going to get left behind. So where is the destination? What is that moral compass? What is the destination? If we want to get there, then, okay. And then meanwhile, it's almost, this is something I'm adding to this analogy, but I'm just kind of exploring it. The karma is the baggage. The karma is a bunch of baggage that we've been carrying on this boat, right? That we've been carrying with us, right? So whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's just baggage, right? It's the good, whether, say you're on this boat, you're on thinking of what's his name? Columbus on the boat for years and years or months and months, whatever. And, you have water and you have your bread and you have your food and you have your things, and it's all going to go bad at some point. Like at some point, even all this food that you have, they ran out of water and they're tripping and drinking seawater and seeing mermaids and whatever, it's like, thinking that they're going to India. But, but the karma it's just a bunch of baggage. We're just carrying all this baggage with us. Sometimes the baggage makes us feel good about ourselves and we feel more peaceful, or we feel more calm, or we feel more kind of zen or whatever, and we're in a better frame of mind. And sometimes that karmic baggage affects us in a negative way, and we feel depressed, like you were talking about. We feel depressed. We feel blocked. We feel unclear about our life. We feel like we don't know where we're going, or we feel like hurting ourselves. We feel like causing pain to ourselves, or we feel like causing pain to other living entities. These are all karmic baggages, right? And the more that we allow ourselves to become entangled in those karmic things, the harder it is to align our moral compass. The harder it is to keep sight of the goal. And that's why I find that the topic of karma is very actually empowering. It's very empowering because I am responsible. No one else. My parents are not responsible for screwing me up. My teachers or the school that I went to and the abuse that I got, that's not really responsible, right? I can't blame others, although we may want to hold people accountable. That's a different topic. They may be held accountable for their karma, right? But what has happened to me and the way that I respond to, whether it be the way that my genetics, right? My body that I'm born into, the family that I'm born into, the social status that I'm born into, all these things, the educational level that I may or may not receive in my life, all these are my own responsibility. It's something I take responsibility for everything that I am now because of my past. And I take full responsibility for everything that will happen in the future myself. My responsibility. Even if, say, my child, God forbid, were to, suffer some horrible situation, it's no one else's fault. This is my karma. This is my responsibility. I am suffering due to something that I did, and therefore that has happened to that. You can't blame anybody else. You can't, point the finger at this or that or other people. It's fully, I take responsibility. It's mine, and it's so empowering, right? Because if I accept where I'm at and everything that has happened to me is because of my actions, then I have the power to now behave in such a way that I create the future, that I create my own destiny in a way, know?
Right. Yeah. And it's not, it may sound cruel, especially when you apply it towards somebody else. And this is a very important distinction. What you can apply to yourself, you never apply it to others. You never say, this is your responsibility, it's your karma. This is cruel, it's inconsiderate, and this is it's not how it works. You can help lovingly to help person to unburden him or herself without reminding that it is their karma, unless you feel it will help them. Again, in a loving way. And the great example of this is that you mentioned the other day, right? The other time we were speaking about this Dharma the bull, when he was tortured and 3 legs were cut off by Kali. And when Maharaj Parikshit, the great saintly king, he came and he saw this picture, right, of this crooked man, Kali personified. He was torturing the bull and the cow, and they were crying and bleeding.
And the bull was Dharma.
The bull was Dharma, and the cow was
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, right. And then when he approached the bull and said, who did this to you? And the bull, Dharma personified, he said, I cannot say who did it to me, because as soon as I point to somebody who did it to me, I'm as guilty as this person. This is, guys, really, it's way, way more simple, or easier said than done. And for me, for you, for any of us, this is a level of consciousness which I don't say we can aspire for, but I don't say I am at. And we never expect anybody to be at this level of consciousness until this level of consciousness arrives. But it's a good knowledge to have, and maybe start to apply it in a simplest situation, not horrible situation when somebody is dying or somebody is, tortured, or somebody is abused. It's a very, very traumatic situation, and it's very difficult to apply it to oneself. Now, what happened with Maharaj Parikshit, although he said, wow, you must be Dharma personified. So that's a level of consciousness. When he said this, he understands this is another level. He doesn't want to blame person who immediately tortures him just in front of his eyes. But as king, as a warrior, he appreciated, and he said, well, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm going, bye, continue. No, he took responsibility to protect and to punish the perpetrator. not toward himself. And we'll see there's another situation with him when something happened toward himself, he was completely unwilling to retaliate. But in order to protect others, we don't just say, okay, it's your karma, then what can I do? No, we can do something to protect others, to punish the perpetrators of others. Ourselves, we need to learn to take responsibility for what happening to us. But when we can protect others, when we can do something to better the life of others, we should never shy away from this. That's why we going, to help those who are poor, to, donate to those who are in need, to, to protect those who need the protection. And, as a man of the family, you protect your family, you protect your community. There are so many different layers. So it's like 180 degrees different approach when you look at the suffering of others. You don't dismiss it as their karma, though you understand it is karma, but it's not something which you say to them, and not that something which you let be or leave be. If you have capacity to do something about it, do something about it. I know there's a people make fun, he's offended for others, but this is a real thing. Actually, we should be offended for others. Actually, person should not be offended for him or herself, but we should be offended for others if it's a right cause. That's again. And what is right cause, what is not right cause? We're going back to scriptures and understand what is right and what is wrong. So yes, that I just wanted to make this distinction, to see it's not that we becoming heartless and complacent towards the suffering of others because we understand the notion of karma. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Actually, for me, the idea of karma allows me to actually, I personally, if I can embody the feeling, this knowledge or understanding of what is karma, I can actually interact much more compassion in the world. Because sometimes what happens is people have their karma, right? They have their issues. They're stirring in their issues. They're stirring in their karma. And sometimes what they want to do is they want to pull you right into it with them, and suck you into their misery through whatever it is, through, being jealous of you or interacting with, interacting with you in a
hateful way.
Yeah, in a hateful, bad energy, whatever it is. And they want to suck you into it. And if I react to their little, you see their little karmic thing, and if I react to it, and if I get sucked into it and I react to it, and I also retaliate with aggression, defense, my own hatred or my own envy or my own, things come up, then it just starts a cycle, right? And we have these, and it's just like each time it's just going to go on and on and on, right? So if I can truly see that this person who's going through what they're going through, right? It's kind of like a kid sometimes, like my kids, my kid is 2 years old, and sometimes he just acts up, and I realize he's either hungry or he's tired. It's one or the other usually, and that's about it. And I just have compassion. It's like, okay, you need some food or you need some rest. And so I'm not going to get upset by what you're going through. I just need to provide what you need. So people are like that. People, there's some issue going on in their own head, their own bullshit, their own stuff. And they're trying to suck you into it with them. And if I can truly see that this is their karma, they're suffering from some, dysfunction. They're suffering from some imbalance of emotions. They're suffering from some desire to want something that maybe I have, but I can't provide it for them. So that's their karma. That's their issue. And I'm not going to get sucked into their karmic energetic field. I'm going to maintain my integrity, my stability, and not allow myself to get pulled into it. That's one way I think that.
I mean, it's usually it's that you talk about toxic people.
Yeah, absolutely. But how to have compassion for those types of toxic people, because you start seeing they're going through their karmic baggage, and that karmic baggage, if I had it might not be my job to tell them, like you said, it's not your job to tell somebody that's in suffering, it's just your karma, like deal with it, but I can use that through my own lens to see how I should interact with this person, whether I can interact with them, whether I can help them in any way, or whether I can't, but there's still compassion there because they're going through what they're going through. And I really pray that I can develop that type of lens with anybody, because there are toxic people, right? There are people that are like that. There are people that just want to rub you the wrong way and want to cause some type of drama and friction in your life. And it's like, but they're going through what they're going through. They have their karma. They have whatever birth they were born into, whatever thing they're lacking, whatever thing they've had, whatever education they think that they're at, all those things. It's okay. You keep your karma to yourself. I don't want to perpetrate more.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah, that's another angle also,
Yeah, because and there it comes again. I'm empowered to make the I forget what exactly it was, but when one of my son was in school, he would say, I have the power to make right choices. There was something like that, like something that the kids would say when they would do something, hurt somebody else, and then the teacher would say, what do you have the power? What do you have the ability? I have the ability to make the right choices. So the choices that I make now in this moment are what going to affect my future, or what affect my consciousness, what my emotions, my psychology, my, and maybe even physically, if you talk about, whether I exercise or not, whether I do the work needed to maintain this body, whether I eat the right nutrition or whether I don't. You see the results in just this lifetime. What to speak of from this lifetime going into the afterlife, the next life, which we don't know about. I can't say for certainty myself what happens then. But if I see the pattern of this life, what I do affects my future.
Right.
And so it makes sense logically that what I do in this life will then affect the future life.
Exactly. Yeah. And that point of you only get triggered by negative reaction of other people if there's something that they actually catch in you which is really true, like if they criticize you and this is something which is deep inside you need to change about yourself, you get in maybe angry and triggered. But if there's nothing, you're not getting really affected. So it's useful.
Or praise.
Or
praise also. If somebody praises you and you're like, whoa, yes, now, then you're tied in their karmic field.
Yeah. So it's always good to reflect if I'm getting triggered either way. Like real sages, as Krishna says, they never elate in happiness and never, depressed in distress. So always equipoised, always on point. It's not that we cannot be happy. Actually, equipoised means happy, but happy on a different level. Not momentary things. You can be triggered a little bit into happiness by momentary things, like small things in life. It's good. It's not we're still being human. We're still not superhuman, and it's okay. And being a little bit sad, but don't let it stay for a long time and affect your life, and just basically then you're living in the past, right? You just something passed, something happened, and you just either dwell with your mind in some pleasant moment, but life goes by, or some sad moment. Of course, most, much more often people hold on to the pains, to the when they're hurt, to the resentment. It's very, very, it's almost like masochistic, but it is like this. It's very difficult to let go of these things. And so to have somebody who helps us through that. That's why people go to psychologists. And I understand this is important to have somebody who actually listens to you and compassionately tries to ask the right question, compassionately tries to get you out of it. Psychologists actually trained to do that. It's not religious practice, but if you have real friends who on a higher level of consciousness and have deep conversations with them, it would be as good.
It's like counseling.
It's like counseling, but if they have also spiritual knowledge, it's even better. So yeah, it's important. It's very difficult to, when you become kind of blindsided, and then it's very difficult to see things for what they are, unless somebody give you like a, helping hand and help you out. It's better to have people in our life who are true well-wishers, whom we love and who love us and who only wish best for us and help us to navigate through the situation. Ultimately, our greatest well-wisher is our guru and, God. But people who surround us, if we surround us by people who are ignorant, toxic, and basically, envious, jealous, vengeful type of people, we will naturally take these qualities. It's like, if you put white color in red color, it becomes red. If you put in blue color, it becomes blue. So what we associate with, we become. And this is where type of our association, what we're listening to, what we tune our minds to is very important to determine how good or bad our future will be in terms of good, bad, or transcendental
karma. So
in
a sense, everything that we do has karma around it. Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we eat, everything we buy on Amazon, everything that we interact with, there is a karmic kind of covering.
Consequence.
Yes, consequence that comes with that.
Always, yeah. Anything, any choice has a consequence. Yeah. And, yeah. So I think we didn't really go into victim mentality too much, it was very kind of the mechanics, I guess, of karma. And I'm not sure if we uncovered this fully. But what do you think? What, even in these terms, what we haven't touched yet?
Well, I was just thinking about this verse that comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says "Tate nukampam sisumikshamano." That this verse says that to those that tolerate the karmas that have come, to those that tolerate the situation that they find themselves in, whether it be the bodily situation, the physical surrounding situation, the emotional situation, the psychological situation, or lack of good situation, one that tolerates those things and that continues to offer, Hridvag Vapur beer, that continues to offer their heart, their hid, their vak, their words, their body, their mind, in devotion. It's one that does that, even though tolerating all the circumstances, and continues to love, continues to open,
and actually saying that he deserves it. That's another, accept as his own karma. Right. This is also part. Yes. So not only tolerating, but also accepting that this is the result of your own deeds in the past. Yeah. Right. So continue.
Exactly. And that kind of comes in with, you said we didn't talk about the victim thing. Victims want to blame somebody else.
Right.
Right? Oh, this person or that person is the cause of my suffering. But when it really comes down to karma, it does that type of mentality doesn't work. And this verse says that if I accept it as my lot, this is my lot. This is, that's an English term. This is my lot in this life. Or, the Pandavas would often talk about the destiny, right? This is our destiny. This is the laws of nature. This is the way it is. So we accept this. One who does that, then for them, liberation is just waiting for them. Liberation is just waiting for that type of person. That means, what does liberation mean? Liberation means you drop all that baggage. There's no more of that karmic baggage. That basically is what liberation means.
Yeah,
right?
no samskara, you get it out
right.
of it.
You've dropped the baggage, whether it's the good or whether it's the bad karma. It's not affecting you anymore, and that can happen in this lifetime. I mean, that truly can happen in this lifetime, where whether the good or the bad karma is happening, I'm not dwelling on it. I'm not focusing on it. The example I've heard is that when we start our spiritual life, when we truly commit to our spiritual life, right, then the karmic cycle may be still turning, but it's like I walked in a room and I turned off the fan.
Right.
Right? So I'm not there's no more energy going into that turning, but I'm still suffering or enjoying. The fan is still turning.
Right.
Right?
Inertia.
Right. But at some point it's going to stop. And I trust that it's going to stop because I'm doing my best to not make more, right? Doing my best to not. And I think we've talked about just, how to interact with other people with, who have a lot of karmic baggage, how to interact with people that might be suffering from their karmas, and what it all is, and how to take personal responsibility ourselves. So I think we've covered a good.
Yeah.
It's as Krishna said, it's a very intricate topic.
It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is, again, important to have a disclaimer that I personally not at this level, unfortunately, that I accept everything and don't blame others. And there's one thing, knowledge, another thing is realization. But the more we connect with knowledge, I know that I've grown personally from where I've been to where I am now, but there's a lot of growth. And I understand at some moments I understand my shortcomings. At some moments I become blinded. Life goes on. The point is that it's not that expectations that everybody would be immediately on the level of
life goes on. Life goes on.
What is this?
Life goes on. I don't know. I have songs in my head today.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yes.
So basically, we do our best. We surround ourselves with people who have better consciousness than we are. Help us to get out and start with a small thing. Like quarrel with your neighbor, quarrel with your spouse, and that's where you don't blame. And just take responsibility and see how you can alleviate small things. I'm not talking about rape, murder, wars. Ultimately, this is also a solution. But if we cannot apply it, most of people, luckily, a lot of people who are suffering mental agonies, they suffer it out of nothing. I mean, literally, basically some day-to-day stuff which is laughable by those who live in horrible, like as you say, who are born in ghetto, have to go through extreme poverty and physical, maybe sexual abuse, and have to be in a war, horrible situations in the world. Yet we,
as they call it, first world problems.
Right. We
Right?
have
I got my first world problems.
So let's kind of start dealing with our first world problems and don't think it is problem, especially in comparison to what other people have to go through, and learn to accept at least this small lot as something we can work through. That's basically, I think, place to start with. And of course, if somebody is in much worse situation, of course, it's much more helpful if one can apply it. But I don't know if I would be able to apply it, And so I understand the more tough the situation, the tougher it is to apply the knowledge. Therefore, we need to start
practicing
here and now and elevate our consciousness. And then you be like Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, somebody, or Haridas Thakur. There's two examples of somebody. Prahlad Maharaj was attempted to be killed by his father multiple times. His father, 5-year-old boy,
tortured and killed.
And he was just, I just believe in Vishnu. I believe in God. And he said, because of this, he was like great demon, great atheist. He threw him from the mountain, and he was unharmed. He threw him into in the pit of poisonous snakes. He was unharmed. He just was chanting and meditating on his Lord. He didn't mind. He didn't retaliate. He didn't try to protect himself. He was fully absorbed in thinking about God. He threw him under the legs of huge elephants, and he was unharmed. And then when ultimately God in form of half lion, half man, Nrsimhadev came and killed his father, he was praying for his father. He said, please forgive my father.
Beautiful.
And then we know Jesus Christ, right? We know that please forgive them. He was tortured. He said, please forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. Now, this is extremely saint. And then you have a story of Haridas Thakur, who was tortured, beaten to death. They kind of, they sentenced him to be beaten in 22 marketplaces. And usually people would die from severe beating in first or second one. And they were beating him and beating him and beating him. And he was like, guys, you seem to be so distressed. Why are you so distressed? He was worried about his perpetrators. And they say, if you don't die, man, they will kill us. Oh, so you want me to die? I'm sorry to cause you so much trouble. So he kind of, okay, so then he went to Samadhi. They throw him into river, and he kind of came out of river. And when he appeared, then everybody fell down and they accepted him as a saint. But this is...
He resurrected.
I'm not exactly. He resurrected. So I'm not talking about this level of acceptance, but those examples are something we could really look up to and aspire and understand that what we're going through is nothing in comparison to that. Or, the story of Mahabharata. So much suffering the Pandavas had to go through. And I think when we read the scriptures, we read the stories, we understand their characters of the saints and their ability to connect with God and be completely, on one hand, fearless, on the other hand, completely non-envious and compassionate even to those who immediately try to physically annihilate them. That brings the whole of our, as you said, first world problems into a huge perspective, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we'll look at this, somebody who is born in extreme poverty or in extreme, physical, disabilities, and especially if somebody close to us and we don't try to say, oh, and God is cruel person, he doesn't understand what he's doing. As this rabbi said, it's either God all-powerful and then he is evil, or he is very nice and kind, but then he is not all-powerful. Otherwise, it doesn't match.
Mm-hmm.
But with karma, it does. We have free will. We can exercise our free will, and we get the results, not necessarily in the same lifetime, as you said, maybe next lifetime, and then whatever manifests, we don't know what we did, but definitely karma is the justest thing. It can never be unjust, unlike our judiciary system where humans or juries making decision and often innocent person is sentenced to death, So, we try to do it as just as possible, but karma is mechanism which is godly and it's working perfectly. So it's not for us to judge how it works because we are imperfect. I think that understanding is very empowering. And that's basically and then we need to learn to own to what's happening to us and how we move forward as a practical outcome of that. I'm saying that's basically what we was going for right today.
Absolutely. I love that you brought it to a very practical applicational place, how you or I try to apply this principle in our life through just the small things, to not get over caught up with things, to be compassionate to others, to see the karmic kind of things going on around us, to other people or to ourselves or to people, look at the news through a karmic lens, just see it all for what it is. And for one that starts to understand this principle, it helps so much. It helps so much. And, we would love, I think, to hear from any of our listeners, our viewers, of how you apply these teachings or this knowledge of karma to your own life circumstances. Because your experiences are valuable, and we would love to learn from that too. So feel free to share them, and we would love to hear from you about your thoughts on these topics.
Yeah. So I think, as usual, we came to a natural end of this topic. Though, again, as Vish said, if you guys have something more, we'll be happy to speak about this more. And I'm pretty sure we left a lot of stones unturned, but I'm feeling that we turned quite some stones today.
All right. Thank you for checking into the Bhakti Zone podcast. We're very grateful to you for this discussion.
Yeah, I'm grateful to you, Vish. And it's always a pleasure to have heart-to-heart discussions. Just chant the name of God to counteract all your karma. And with this, we say, Haribol.
Haribol.